See the pen I've got?
Nice.
I voted.
Now it's red.
And,
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, 9 o'clock. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Budget work.
Uh-oh.
Red. Yeah, anything else to go through?
No.
Okay. So we did
Just
have
a
it Monday.
Right. Does anybody else need a red pen?
We all will before maybe done. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, well, I can get you whatever you need. Just a reminder, please speak into your microphones.
Okay, yeah. Say what?
Okay, I'll just talk this way. I just fogged up my glasses.
Well,
You're far enough.
you're far enough away. You're the only one. Yeah.
You're distanced.
I'm distanced in more ways than one this morning. Yeah, I got up, I went to bed at about midnight, and I got up at a little after 5, and my wife's computer down in the basement wouldn't print. So I had to be creative, and you got a copy here, but it's been quite a morning already. Okay, so this is probably, I'm just gonna be really upfront with you and honest, probably it's gonna be one of the, we'll have to make some decisions. It's gonna be a tough budget here. I put in the, as you see on the front, and we'll just kind of go through here, and I'll just tell you what I did, and then we can go back and ask questions. Does that sound
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Hang on a second. Is Diane on?
Yes, I was just,
Yeah.
Scott, nobody can hear you, so I'm just gonna
Oh.
point that your way.
Oh, do I need to?
No, I'll try to turn it up, so. Jonah, would you just let Diane know, like talking to your mic, because I took mine away.
Diane, can you hear me?
Let's see.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
We are
Very good. Can you-
we're gonna send her a set of this by
Okay.
email.
An email should be coming to you on the budget that we're looking at.
Okay, I'll look for it.
We're scanning it in right now.
Diane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, just making sure. You want to wait till she gets.
Oh. Let's see. You can go ahead and just do your, and you don't have to like hunch or lean. This will pick you up.
Pick it up?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go on through here. When we left last time, we were asked to add the tax lid dollars to the dollars from last year so you didn't lose those. And that number that's circled on that first page is $232,816. And so the $232,816 is the tax lid dollar amount. The tax lid dollar amount is, if you look, I didn't circle it, but if you look down here in the right-hand column, that $232,776 is the 1663 mil to get to that $232,816. But you also had a reduction in assessed value, so that's where that .177 we talked about came in. So that's where we get to the 1.84 to have captured the tax lid prepared in the 2021 budget, okay? What I did, just because we can divide up, you'll see this, we may have to get creative here a little bit, a couple funds. But what I did for this purpose, if you look at the top there where the circle 232,816 is, I added go at the top of that column, I added the entire 232,816 to the general fund. We can put it other places, but I usually start with the general fund because it's flexible there. You know, we can spend for anything out of the general fund, and so there's no reason, unless we have like the employee benefit fund, you'll see here we may have to do some things there, okay, just to get this to work. Okay, so what I worked off of also was a 1.5 2% increase across the board on personnel services, okay? So that next sheet you got is the sheet that I worked off of. With that, I also, there's two columns that I worked off here. If you remember last time, we had the sheet for the 2020 budget, and there was some longevity, I believe it was longevity and some, like the ambulance.
New
and
personnel.
New personnel, and
Yeah.
so there was a little bit of almost a $1 million increase, just because of those things, okay? So what I did first is that first column where you don't have red checks, but the checks, that I went in and put the 2020 column in to the budget, okay? So all the 2020 column now has been adjusted upward to match the longevity and the additional pay. The third column, which is the 1.5%, I went in and put that in also throughout the budget. Now, I did quite a bit of writing on here. I didn't go and just print you a fresh copy, because there's gonna have to be probably some red marks and all that. So I did that, and then the next page is the employee benefit fund based on the 1.5%, okay? So, I don't worry about each office. I go down at the bottom. So what I have to pick up down here at the very bottom is, I would pick up FICA, the 388, 134. Unemployment was about what we'd already had budgeted anyway, and then the capers and the health insurance. So those would be the three, and when we get back to employee benefits, you'll see what impact that had on the fund. Now, one thing I was gonna ask you, I didn't see if there were any changes in the 2020, the middle column, for the employee benefits.
I haven't checked that yet.
Yeah, so there'll be some things we still have to, check on that. But that's one you'll see when we get back there that we'll talk about employee benefits. Okay. So I didn't get these numbered beforehand, but if you go, it'd be one page, you'll see a circled number 42,215 down at the bottom there. What that is neighborhood revitalization. Neighborhood revitalization. So we went in because we did have a levy now based on the tax lid. So I went in and dropped those in each of the funds. Okay. So you'll see that circled all the way through there. If you remember right, and I didn't print out the whole page, I don't think this time, but it's a little less than $1 million that is now hitting. Yeah, that they pay it into the county treasurer, and then they get reimbursed back to them, the neighborhood revitalizations to the taxpayers that pay that.
Is the two new commissioners on board with that? Understand what's going on there?
Neighborhood revitalization.
Neighborhood revitalization, what we're talking about?
I know what it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
but right now he's talking about the money that we actually pay back out. We collect it, and then we pay back out through the program for these new houses.
Yeah.
And new construction.
In certain parts of your, I don't know what the map is. I mean, isn't there a map that shows you have to be in certain, or is it all?
No, this whole county, this whole county, yeah.
Sometimes they do blighted areas, or they do areas that need,
But this is a problem that we've talked about in the past, whether we do away with this for future tax purposes, tax lid comes on and things like that. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, because in the past, it was over $1 million there,
Yes.
and then you made some adjustments to that program.
We cut it down to 5 years.
5 years, and so that changed it quite a bit, but it's still just about 0.8, I think, almost a mil. Okay, and then the next page, what I did on every one of these funds is, since we are, if you have to keep this in mind, on this front page, we're locking in the actual tax levy for each fund, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that column M, whatever that levy amount is actually, and I didn't get it, I didn't get one thing changed here, I found just right last minute, but it's the .177 got added to the general fund. It didn't need to be added to the general fund because that .177 was, because of the assessed value drop. So 24,000, there's an extra $24,000 over here, that 3731,440 at the bottom where the tax, it says
Yeah.
tax levy.
Yep.
It's different than that sheet by 24,000. So, but it's nothing to worry about. I'm just telling you that because if you look at the number, they don't match up. So what I did is I left the amount that you're levying based on what we talked about. And then I went in and I put all the personnel services in, like I told you, and I put in the county general, I put the county administrator at 140,000. Okay, so based on that, what this circled number here means at 214,048. If we lock the tax levy in, which we are, because based on that sheet, we're locking it at 1.84 right now. To add the 1.5% increases, the longevity, and the county administrator, okay? Those are the three big things that hit the general fund. We would be sitting in a position right now of reducing cash by 214,048 in the general fund. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because we've locked the taxes.
Right.
So the only place to adjust it is either,
Cash forward.
I just adjusted in cash forward. But we could adjust it in line items, like, you know, if we had more revenue coming in somewhere we didn't account for, we could pick it up there. Or we could go over in the departments and there may be something there, you know, because just of that 214, 140 of that is the county administrator. Does that make sense? Okay. So what I did on every fund, I left it just like that. So we would see the impact to if we leave everything like it is, we see the impact to unencumbered cash, okay? And I think that's important because if you lock the taxes and you keep your spending level or your receipts and expending level the same, then what happens in the tax lid is that cash, unencumbered cash goes, in this case, from 1,833,692 down to 1,619,644, okay? And every fund is that way. I mean, that's the way I've done it, so we could see that. So just to tell you the big picture right now, what we're looking at, based on the direction you've given me, we're setting a reduction between longevity in the 2020 column, the 1.5 added here, the 140 added to for the county administrator. We're setting in a position right now of about a little over 500,000 reduction in unencumbered cash, based on the employee and the employee benefit fund. And we'll get to that one. That's that's about half of it, okay? And I'll show you there what happened, and we're gonna have to dig into that one a little more, okay?
But can we stop calling it longevity, because what it
Okay.
actually is the new personnel that.
Oh, it's new personnel, sorry.
It's just because commissioners have added personnel in
Yeah.
certain departments.
Sorry, I misspoke there.
I said, no, it does have a little bit of longevity,
Yeah.
but the most of it
Yeah.
is new
Yeah,
persons.
because we looked down there,
Yeah.
when we looked, yeah, that's true. When we looked down there last time, it was almost all new positions.
Yeah, I just don't want a
Yeah,
misperception
I
out there.
misquoted, yeah, I'm glad you corrected me, yeah, thank you. Okay, so you see what I'm doing, and we're gonna go through each fund this way, and I'll show you the impact. Because like on the next page, if you look at the next page, I went through, in the general fund, we already had it adjusted, or there wasn't hardly any changes there, so the red numbers on the right, or your numbers on the right, are the adjustment to get the 1.5 added, okay? So you can kind of see, how each office changed based on the 1.5%, okay?
Okay.
Same with the next page. Keep flipping, go to the next page, and I've got some circled numbers at the top. And the reason I circled these after I'd done all these different gyrations of, you know, the 140 for the county administrator, the personnel service, all that. Randy brought this up last time, is if you'll look at those, I didn't circle the first column, but if you'll look, those three lines are the transfers that we make or spend for road and bridge. So the one line, which is the sales tax 80% road repair, is 0 in the first column. And we only took out 409,000 last year. But if you look at 2020 and 2021, if we made all the transfers that we're asked to make here, I mean, based on what we've done in the past, we would transfer between those 2 years about $3 million into capital improvement or spend on road. Okay, so roughly 2.8 probably that goes into capital improvement. The reason I bring that up is these are decisions that are hard to make. Okay, so you've been asked, okay, we need to keep the roads up. Okay, and the way you keep the roads up is you transfer money from the general fund into the capital improvement and you spend it out of the capital improvement for part of it. You know, I mean, that's the way you've kind of always done it. But that is general fund money, and it's not required to be transferred. Randy brought that up last time. It's not required to be transferred over to the capital improvement. But then that's a decision you have to make. Okay, if we don't transfer it over there, we can't do roads that way. Okay. But if we leave it here, $3 million, all of a sudden your cash, in those 2 years, your cash went up $3 million in the general fund. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And the reason I bring that up is this 500,000 I'm floating around here between all the funds is easily covered, but then you have to make a decision. Are we doing it here or are we doing it here? You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? That's the whole, and I'll probably misspeak again. I'm not calling it a shell game, but it literally, in a budget, a county budget, probably more than a city, there are so many, you know, moving pieces. So when you get all these moving pieces going, you really have to be focused and say, as a commission, our roads are focus. Okay, that's one question. Our roads are focus. I really believe people, you know, the employees you have working here, that's a focus too. Because if you don't have people working here, you don't have anything get done. I mean, we look at that in the firm. You know, that people are very important in our firm, and they are here at the county. So you look at people, you look at roads, you look at other things, adding personnel. You know, the budget with the county administrator, 140 is right at 1 mil. Right there is 1 mil. So then, if you think about if you hadn't added that 1.84 mils to the 232, you would be sitting at about 750,000 in the hole. You see what I'm saying? So it's not an easy decision. I mean, you're sitting here and I know Diane, she's listening, but you know, she's always saying, you know, which I understand, you know, we should cut the taxes, you know, for people. But if you're gonna do the things you want to do, that's really hard. You know, there's really some tough decisions that have to be made, because we're not even really talking about the tax. We are talking about the tax lid, but we're not. I mean, we picked up the 232, but this is more than the tax lid. This is, what is our government, what do we want to look like? You know, what's our road department look like, and what are we going to accomplish with the road department? Okay, what does our, you know, administration look like, and are we going to put a county administrator in place? And what, you know, how are we taking care of our people? And that's a tough, those are, I mean, I was putting this together and I was going, those are tough decisions.
A, B, and C. I mean, and then you can just keep going to D.
Yeah.
And what is the goal? And that's one thing that we've talked about before, is a vision in here, and there's nothing up here that says a vision for us.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, I've been along with this system for the roads and seen how it works, that we have to build money to save money so that to build the roads. And we took that last year, and that Kent knows that I wasn't in favor of it, but that's what we did to make the budget fly last year, is took that and went to the general with it and moved it over. And so this year, if we try moving it back, that just makes us that much bigger of a hole to fill with taxes in order to try to get some money back in the roads.
Yeah, but you know, I still like the flexibility of that general fund.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that way you can track it, and if it's possible, you can still
move it over,
attack whatever project you got.
Yeah.
But that's flexibility, yes.
But you know, that's why it's so important to keep that general fund
Exactly.
healthy, because you know, we're looking at right now, what, month and a half expenses? And since the day I got here, you've talked about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months, yeah. Okay, so I spent more time on the general fund like that, but those are things that we're gonna have to decide today, okay? How do we wanna move forward? And then Tina, bless her heart, you know, she's had all this stuff going on. She and I will go back through the line items and kind of, see, the thing is, for the new people, as long as you have the tax dollars locked, okay, we know that, okay, we're gonna raise 1.84 mils, we got them locked, then that's what we need to go to publication. We know what the total expenditures are, that's what we need to go to publication. But there's some things that you have to go into, and you may have to, you know, move some things around. There's just some tweaks that have to be made. Those can be made. As I told you the other day, we go to the budget hearing with this, the way it is right now. It can always be reduced. You know, it can't be raised. If someone come in and said, well, we want our roads so bad, we want another 2 mils added for roads. Well, that would be something we'd have to go back and we'd have to have a republish and rehear it. But for where we're at, we could do a budget publication, and then you could hear the people if they come to the budget hearing.
That last scenario, we can't do. We would have to go to an election and that date's passed.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. That's true. I misspoke there. There are some things that we potentially could do to get some more with some of those things, like with the federal dollars and some of that, but it would have to be used for that. One thing I was thinking about too is that FEMA money. I'm so aware now. I'm doing all this federal money that's coming down the track. I mean, I've got 17 counties, and my head has just been spinning. Okay, and
All due next week.
yeah, it's all due next week. So I
Giving
have.
our county extra attention too, right?
It's Rusty is supposed to have it to me. Rusty's supposed to have it to me today. We're gonna shoot for having it before you on Monday.
He said it last night.
Yeah.
He said it last night.
So we'll look at it. Takes a little bit to go through and match up. You know, we're supposed to match up all those invoices to make sure they're. But back to the FEMA thing. See, that right there alone is if we got $600,000-700,000 it's sitting there that hadn't been taken into FEMA, you know, because we haven't got the paperwork. I mean, $600,000 or $700,000 right there all of a sudden makes up your difference. So I'm gonna once we get past this rush of August 17th, I'm gonna dig into that a little bit, because I think I can help you get that money, because that to have $600,000 or $700,000 in the situation we're in right now sitting there. I just don't know if we have, the kicker with FEMA is, I don't know if we have the documentation, like pictures and some of that stuff in place. We'll be able to.
I believe we do.
We do? Okay. So we'll see if we can, because that would really help your road and bridge department.
Are other counties in the same situation?
Oh,
as
yeah,
us?
like that.
I mean, I was guessing that they were, but then you talked about this township.
Well, townships are the ones I've seen the most where they're not a county unit system, they're townships. There's some in Reno County. One guy got it, but all the others are waiting 2 years now. They're 2 years out. So this one guy he just said, I'm tired of messing with him. So he went, he got it. So I think that's just a matter of staying with him, you know? So we'll look at that when I get done with these others. Okay, so let's go to the road and bridge, and let's just go, I'm not gonna take this much time on every one of them. I just wanted to make sure you understand what we're doing. So debt service is next. Flip the next page, is road and bridge, and then flip one more page. And
So
what?
it would be 9A.
9A, yeah, I should have put numbers on the bottom, sorry.
Yeah, it's got the number.
It's got something.
Yeah, but they're sometimes squirrely the way the state does it. Okay, so the same thing happened here. If you kind of put that page over the side and look at the next page, you'll see I went through, and this one did have some changes in the middle column for 2020 for the road and bridge. And some of them were, I'm not sure why, if we were underestimated when we did it last year or what, but there's a 199, 198, and we were showing 160, 165, so there was a little bit picked up there. But then you can see what was added there to the salaries. So what this 126,876 means over on that page 9A, that would be the same thing as the general fund, where we go in and we put in the personnel services, and we've locked in the tax dollars. So the difference there of 126,876 would come out of either line items that we would eventually reduce, or we would come out of unencumbered cash, okay? So there's where the road and bridge stands.
And the difference would have been when we added the county engineer. That's
Okay.
why the salaries went up.
That's why they went up,
And
okay?
last year, I think that we just carried forward the 2019 numbers into the 2020 personnel
Oh,
budget instead of updating.
Updating those, okay. Okay. So that's the road and bridge. Let's keep flipping here. If we go to the next page, and there's no page number on this one, sorry. It starts at the top with the ambulance.
Yeah.
And all I'm gonna, unless you've got questions, all I'm gonna show you is the circled number. That's the number that will reduce something, whether it's line item, cash, you know, expenses or cash. So ambulance is $1,610, okay? And then you go down at the bottom, appraiser's cost is $4,673. So those don't have a big change. We flip to the next page, aging. Would be reduced by 284, so there's not big changes there. Election at the bottom was 1662. And then the next one is not pretty. So I'm not sure if I don't know, I did this pretty quickly this morning trying to figure it out, and we don't know what the middle column is. We're gonna have to work on that one a little bit. But what this means here is if you look to the left of that first circle, 289,053, we have a projected 125,582 unencumbered cash balance in the last column before those numbers were added to it. So we would have to take the 289,053 off of 125. So we would be in a negative unencumbered position.
That don't work.
But I'm not sure, we'll have to work the middle column. One of the biggest increases there you'll see, and we build in usually each year, is you look at medical insurance. So if you start in the 2019 column, you have 790,231.
Yep.
We got 807 in the middle column, which those are, if that's true, they're, I mean, we don't give a big increase in 2020. I don't know what health has done, is it?
Well, we had an increase, but the employees picked up part.
Okay.
And I believe that the budget was prepared, like we usually put in 25% increase on health insurance when we
Okay.
budget.
Okay.
And that's the number that Ashley used was of the personnel,
Yeah.
then a 25%
Yeah.
increase on medical.
Yeah. So that's why if you look at the next one, it's 940, it went to 1191, 248. So that's that 25% that's built in. And we do that every year just to try to cover it. But I'm just showing you what it is. We're gonna have to work on this one a little more, and this actually has to be done by tomorrow. Publication.
What is today? Yeah, tomorrow would be ideal.
Come along,
So,
Monday morning maybe, but
The
it
latest,
needs to
yeah.
be, yeah.
So as we're talking about this, we have to just be thinking, that's why I spent the time at the general fund is, okay, we're gonna lock the taxes in, but see that 232 that we added to the general fund, we might have to add the 232 over here. You see what I'm saying?
Well, we've been using up cash in this fund for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Never adding to the levy
Right.
for this fund.
Yeah, because you can see, if you looked up at the top, I always look at this, but the 219 column at the very top, it's 154,536. So see, we've been going that would be in the end of 18, so we've been going on a pretty tight unencumbered cash balance on this fund for
Quite a while.
quite a while. Okay, we're gonna keep going here, you can think about that. Now this one, I wasn't sure why this one hit the way it did. Maybe we didn't have the right, now I don't know what happened, but this is the health fund. And if you go down to the middle column, 185 is 210 on the sheet. Double check, make sure that is right. I didn't pick something up.
Yeah, it probably is.
Okay, 210, and then the other column is 222,873. So there's a difference there of 47,873. So we're talking, that's about 0.4 mils, the difference there. Now the thing you have to remember about the health fund is we have to keep the funding at the same level as last year, which means taxes. So we levied 100,000 there. We've levied about the same in this fund for forever. If you do drop it in this fund, then you lose part of the state funding on the formula grant for the next couple quarters. So, because what it is the county is required to what they call supplant. They're required to put a portion of the money in to fund your health department. You can't just cut it and let the state pay. So if you cut it, the state cuts your money from them.
So what's,
Well, one reason that you see the 2019 personnel was lower, that's when she changed to her structure a little bit, and she was having trouble finding people. She did some part-time positions, and then after that, I believe that she's gone back full-time with some of them and added a couple of them.
you just said something interesting though, is, so by not keeping that number up, we reflect next year we'll have an issue.
No, if we leave it at the 100, if we leave it at the 100,028, that's the way it is right now, and we don't change that ever going forward, you'll be fine.
Okay.
But what happened in the tax levy back in the 90s is we had to start looking at funds to actually start reducing the levies. And this is one you can't really reduce the levy because you end up.
You just talked about reducing the levy.
Yeah, it's not the actual budget, it's the actual levy.
Okay, so, because that was my concern, was the
Yeah.
personnel that we've added,
Yeah,
and, you know,
yeah,
the grant money can come through.
right.
Don't count.
But I don't want that to balloon up and then we have to go back down because we don't have no more
Yes,
federal.
exactly, yeah,
And then get in trouble for that, so.
yeah.
That's exactly.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head on Marion County, but you will get money back to this fund from the Spark Fund because I don't remember what the number is, but literally most of them now that they kind of clarified it, most of them are taking the health nurse or the health office officials and the emergency management, and they're putting in as reimbursement March 1 to July 31st, and then they're building it in to August 1st to the end of the year because most of their time is being spent on COVID-19. They hadn't made a decision on that, but finally they came out with a Q&A that says if these people are, because what was confusing, it was saying if, like in this case here, if they were budgeted, their salaries were budgeted right here like they were in the 2020 budget. Originally, they were saying that you couldn't reimburse them, okay? And that was what was really confusing. But now they've clarified that, the way I understand it anyway, I mean, why I'm reading it, is that you can pick that up. So if you look at, let's just say that, I'm gonna throw a number out here, but let's just say that Deidre's, well, I don't know what you think, 40, 50, I don't know. 50, probably, just use 50. Well, she'll get 10 months of that 50 reimbursed back to the health fund.
Right.
And then each staff that would be working on COVID that you've paid here, so that'll help, that'll help some. And
That makes sense, because
the question I get though is like, okay, and you can see this, this reflects right in the fund because it goes right to the health fund because that's where it's paid, okay? But like emergency management and these others that are in the general fund, when they get reimbursed, I'm not sure how you're gonna do it, but there's two options in the state of Kansas. You can either put in as a receipt, okay? And that's what they're all worried about, is they're not gonna get credit down here in their budget because they put it up here in a receipt, okay? Or the other step you can do, what's called budget credit, you can actually go to the line item and put the receipt of the federal money into that line item. And what that does is that gives him his budget back. You see what I'm saying?
Put it in as like a negative.
Negative
expenditure.
receipt, yeah.
Negative expenditure.
So, anyway, that's just some things.
Caller number 1 is great feedback.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I see you
Okay.
going for the soundboard, and I was like, no, I think it's fine, that might
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so do you understand that? Okay, we'll keep going. Now, what happens when we get over to noxious weed is because there's some personnel, I'm just guessing here, but personnel changes due to the salary and stuff, it actually drops. So we don't have a circled number here. We have a positive 7,337, okay? And then if you go down to the park, it's only 2398 circled number. The next one, solid waste, it's a positive too, 4326, it's not circled. And then spatial bridge, I'm not sure what happened here, personnel changed or what, but it's a positive 30,307. I believe that's the that's the last levied fund. So if you went through and added up all the circle, I just did it in my head, I didn't go put it on numbers, I ran out of time, but if you just add up the circles and the pluses, it's somewhere around 530,000. And then if you didn't do the 1.84 mils increase, so that's another 232,000 on the tax lid, then you'd have the 530 plus 230, so you're setting at 760. So that's the swing we got going here, is about $750,000 between if you raise the mill levy at 1.84, or you do the 1.5, or you add the county administrator. I mean, you can see all those pieces are moving, and so they adjust it one way or the other. And the way you adjust it is you either add revenue or receipts, you have reduction of expenditures in the funds, or you reduce unencumbered cash balance, okay? That's the way that gets picked up, okay?
And that special bridge personnel number for the current, I'm gonna have to look at that one, that doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem, something didn't look right, because I was just, again, just doing it pretty quickly
Yeah,
here, but.
we'll double check that.
With us dropping the center and going to the new tax center over here.
Oh, yeah, I took that off, yeah.
So it's off already, you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go over here, go to page 7D, it's where the road funds were circled. There's a circle right below that on 7D, and I said remove there. We removed the 164,000 that was for a county extension. So 7D,
Yeah.
you'll see a 0 there.
Remove.
Yeah.
But you're not telling me we've already removed that 140,000 that we spent last year.
Yeah.
And so, in my viewpoints, that I've already dropped some money here, and we're already in the shape that we're talking about. So we've cut some there already, and in the general fund, like Kent says, we need to keep it up too. And if there's money there from transfer back.
That removed was 164.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was roughly 164,048.
Yeah.
And Randy made a good point there today. It's removed from your budget, but it's really not removed from the taxpayers. They're still, they're still getting it put on their tax statement because it became another tax district.
But I look at it as, I've spent that money last year, and I don't have to cover it this year, but yet I'm already trying to cover money already without that on there. So it's another shortfall to me. That we,
Yeah, because you could add another 164,000 really to the 750 if you want. I mean, it's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, if you want.
Because you had it last year and you took it away, but it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, so we could be setting at 920. We're getting close to $1 million there.
Surrounded all.
Yeah.
So, this is not an easy, this is not, we've had a little easier budgets. Anytime you're in an assessed value increase environment, it makes a lot of difference because you don't feel like you are adding to those people that got increases in their assessed value, but you don't see it on the paper. But this you see on the paper when it stays flat like it did, or even dropped a little bit by 337,000. You see the impact. I think. I hadn't done one of these budgets for I don't know, probably not even. It's for probably Carol's time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably prior to 10. So that's where we're at. So we need some direction. Are we going to? You can't do this year after year, but I don't see this. It's a real problem this year that we reduce those circled numbers, reduce the unencumbered cash, except the employee benefit fund. We're gonna have to look at that one. I'm not sure what's happening there. The general fund, if we reduce it by the 214, it's not pretty, but if you reduce it by 214 and you do go on and do the 1.84 increase because of the tax lid, you're still ahead there a little bit. But what's going to happen is if that trend continues, where you just keep doing that, what's going to happen is those transfers in the road and bridge, because that's where you'll go to next. those transfers in the road and bridge department, from general to capital improvement, will start having to be reduced in order, if the tax lid stays on, in order, I mean, that would be the first place you would go. Well, what impact is that? Well, that impacts roads. So, you know, we just have to kind of make the, you know, decide, you know, 2021, you know, we could do this budget just like it is, and, you know, you'd reduce some cash, unencumbered cash. 2022, you know, with those transfers, we could probably, you know, based on everything staying the same, you know. Then, you know, you get a couple years out and the tax lid stays on, then you're starting talking to some serious, because we don't know, you know, what's gonna happen, we don't, you know.
Is it 3 years now with the tax lid?
Yeah, this is 3, I think. Third one, yep,
I think 3.
yeah. I don't know,
Yeah, 3 or 4. 3.
I can't even tell you when my birthday is anymore, it seems like.
It was about time you come on, wasn't it? Yeah. It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago.
As soon as I got to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
about right.
you know, looking down the road, we've got 50% valuation decrease on oil and gas.
Yeah.
Will that ever kick back in? Or will that just sit there?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot, I mean, there's way more moving pieces than what I just mentioned. I'm just mentioning what Marion counties are, but you got all these other, I mean, there's so many moving pieces right now in the economy and the world. I don't know, I've just always kind of taken the approach, even with this COVID money, you know, there's some counties that are spending, well, not counties, some of these sub-recipients, which would be sometimes schools or cities that are putting things into these, that are spending money. I'm thinking, you should be spending for that. You should be spending for other things that are gonna, you know, help you for 2 to 5 years, instead of going in and doing something that's gonna do a temperature check for $80,000 in all your buildings, and how long is that gonna last, you know? I mean, those are decisions that I've always tried to, you know, when I've worked on a budget, is what decisions can we make today that'll keep us steady, keep us, you know, keep that calm, you know, because when there's a storm, which we're in the middle of a storm, you don't wanna start going like this, because that makes the storm even worse. So, not that I'm not getting shook out of the 2021 budget. We'll be fine the way it's, I mean, we got $3 million sitting there in transfers. If the roads don't get worked on for another year, you know, that's what's gonna happen, if that's what you decide, if we did have to get into that. But if you started that trend of doing that, you know, over, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you would have some serious, challenges with your unencumbered cash and your operations. I mean, that's what I think.
We were talking about this FEMA money for roads.
Mhm.
You had a little bit of experience with FEMA. Do they put, when they issue the county funds for road damage, do they specify, okay, this can only be used to repair damage?
No, it's a reimbursement. So what typically happens in FEMA is you actually have to go make the expenditure. That's why it hurts the county. I mean, like May of 19, I believe, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but May of 19, you had 4 times you replaced gravel on the same road, okay? So, on the same roads. And so if you look at that, I don't know what that number is, but that's a big number. Okay, because gravel's not cheap. So just take that one scenario there. So you're going out and you're keep putting that gravel on there, and it's like it's washing down the creek, and probably down in Butler County, but you know, that's where you have to pay it, and the reimbursement, all we gotta do, I mean, I'd say all, but we just, you know, I need to maybe help them a little bit, and we'll kind of keep pushing along. But if we got that 700,000 back in, all of a sudden, see, you're talking about 700,000 divided by 140 grand, you know, you're talking 1, 2, 3, almost 4 mills, you know, of money that's sitting there that would help you in the road and bridge fund. And I know there's a lot going on. I'm not beating anybody up. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to think of ways to keep your unencumbered cash up.
Well, you started off saying about 700,000 is what we were looking for here.
Yeah.
Right there, there it is.
Yeah. And then there's no restrictions. It would go into the road and bridge fund, and then you would use it, you know, use it accordingly or
Yeah.
help fund the budget. Yeah.
And then if you needed to, you could lessen your transfer by that.
And I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's 700,000, I'm just throwing that number around, but it's usually, in the past, when those, it's kind of the same roads, it seems like, you know, year after year that have some of those challenges. But it's been anywhere from 400 to 700,000, I think, in the past, hasn't it?
I think we've had some that were less, like 200 and
200
something.
some, yeah.
I don't remember any of them really
This
large
one,
ones.
this one was just a big one, I know. It hit not just you, I mean, it hit all the,
You know,
all the, yeah.
Bless her heart, I had Tina last night look up the up-to-date figures on that, and right now we're on the road and bridge gravel.
Yeah,
We're at 1.237 million
Already spent.
already
This
spent,
year.
so we're looking at $1.5 million at least, finishing out the budget year. You look at that compared to what we budgeted, and you can see what that did to the general fund.
yeah.
Plus you've already put some money over there in the general fund.
And
What was
I'm
supposed to be
not
the
saying
rate.
it wasn't money well
No,
spent, but it's
no.
just a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at that on page 9B, that is very telling. Even in 19 there, I didn't really circle these numbers, but if you look on 9B for the road and bridge detail, you're probably gonna get close to that 1.6 again. You say you're at 1.237.
Mhm.
Okay, if you look at 19 there, go down to the gravel roads, it's 1,613,445. We've got budgeted 900,000 in
Yeah.
2020.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, we go.
right there alone, we're already in a deficit in the middle column by 300,000
Mhm.
or over, a little over. And if it approaches the 19, you know, we're gonna be sitting in a deficit of 700,000. And that would be just, the FEMA money, all that would do is just basically just, if that was, I don't even.
And just get our head back above water.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, do you know what, when we put that gravel projects line right, the next one down,
Uh-huh.
the 150 and 200, what was that for?
Rebuilds, gravel road
Oh,
rebuilds.
rebuilds, okay.
Yeah.
Base rock, basically. Oh, you still gotta put the gravel on the top, you just. you gotta
Just
get-
all road,
Yeah.
all road gravel,
Yeah.
from start to finish of it. Well, I'm gonna start off on one thing. If we need to start looking, and the administrator was thrown in here. That's something that has been a subject, how we voted it down. But I think the commission, if they make that decision, I think the public out here would go bananas if now we have 5 commissioners, and then we put an administrator on. And without going back to 3 commissioners, I don't think the public would accept that. If we went back to 3 commissioners, but you have to stay with 4 or 5 commissioners now for 4 years. And it would be a changeover again if you decide to do that, to put it back in administrator with going back to that. So that's a subject that's pretty touchy on how we handle it. And not saying that that's not a good job or a good thing to have. I'm not gonna argue that point, if you get the right person.
It takes the right person.
Yeah, and the right work and things, but anyway, you know, I don't think that
It's gotta
$140,000
be the
will,
right person.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that $140,000 will tend to it, because what I see in the counties surrounding us is the assistance to that person, financial, and also for personnel. And that's the 2 main people that seem to work underneath an administrator in Butler and Harvey County.
Like in Harvey County, I'm working with them on this, and so they have Anthony,
Yes.
and then they have Dan,
Yeah.
and then they have another staff in that office, I think, like an administrative assistant.
Yes.
And then they have their you know, all their desks and their
Yeah.
equipment and all that, so I don't know, I mean, they're bigger than you, but
Yes.
I don't know what that,
I understand.
I don't know what their budget, I haven't looked at their budget, see what that be, it's,
Yeah.
and Anthony's good, I mean.
Oh, great.
Anthony is
Great person.
amazingly detailed, I mean, he sent
Yeah.
back an email yesterday about the way we're looking at these sheets, and we were talking about $12.42, and I'm going,
Mm.
you know, right now, $12.42, I mean, I don't mean that bad,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Right. Right.
yeah.
So that's one that I see that really make a decision on that, keep it going for, and maybe we figure it in a little, then let's just wait until the end and throwing it in for, to look for financial. I mean, we gotta have financial before we have it, but, just make some good decisions there on how we're gonna approach it and how we're gonna do it.
Looking at the extension council being removed, and I understand, I get it, it's still a taxing entity, it's still going to come around somewhere, just not through here. But you're pulling the 164 out, you're throwing the 140 in, and a couple thousand on top for personnel services, just in that fund alone. I'm looking at 7D. So you're looking at somewhere around a $22,000, just in that 7D page reduction.
Yeah.
So just sticking with the one page, that one page takes 22,000 to be somewhere.
Put
cash
somewhere
forward.
else, yeah.
Found somewhere else.
Yeah,
Cash forward.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's already removed.
Yes.
Zero removed, so.
Yeah, it's zero, but
You're
you
adding.
would, you would also be adding back the 140 in the same column in the 2021.
He's just saying the net difference between the 164 and the 140 is the 20.
Except we've already removed it and trying to figure out, we're just trying to come up with money, trying to cut this to where we get some cushion here.
Do you think you know, you're still monitoring the sales, everything I'm reading, sales tax in any county, is literally up or above? So, that's one number we've kind of looked at in the past. If you look back at page 7, it's the receipt side, and if you go up, it's about a third of the way down. In the 19 column on page 7, it's 740,270.
Yep.
And the middle column is 650, and 2021 is 650.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to get too carried away there with that, you know, moving that up like it was same as last year. I mean, there's $90,000, and see how that works is if we keep it at the 650, we're being conservative with that because we don't want to build expenditures down below on a false number. But if these numbers are coming in better than we thought, they'll end up being that same. See, right there alone in 1 year, you're gonna pick up potentially $100,000 in the budget because we have been conservative with the way we've shown that number. And that happens quite a bit. I always, Tina and I both, we have that, you know, we try to make sure those numbers on the receipt side are conservative so that we don't end up with a hole there. Because I still remember the year that I was showing $300,000 or $400,000 in interest here at Marion and Osage, and those rates just went, and literally, it was like, I think it dropped 150,000 or more. So you know, you don't want those. And I didn't see that. I didn't have my crystal ball, but you know, you just don't want those situations like that where you overestimate.
I think the sales tax is something that, when this COVID started, we all thought it was gonna drop.
Yeah.
I think that was the general feeling of everybody, that no business open, we'd lose sales tax and everything.
That's
But,
what
yeah.
we kept getting told, but I was keeping my eyes open watching the traffic.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like that was gonna happen, and I never believed it from the get-go.
Well, I sort of thought maybe it would, but then the monthly numbers that you see up here that we've posted
Yeah.
so far this year,
Yeah.
do we have a happy year in right now? Yep.
The last one that we had was May.
Yeah. So, once you get 6 months.
Next month, you know,
Which is
you may
4,000
see
a
it, I don't know if you'll see a change.
It's still of last year's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, the car dealers get some inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have nothing to sell now.
That's right. Yeah, they do.
And they sold out 2 months ago, so
Right.
when they get inventory back, it's gonna come back again.
It should come back.
We're gonna have to start selling ventilators. That's what everybody started making.
Well, yeah, but you look back at 2019, you know, that was a year we had a lot of construction in the county and a lot of people were here staying and buying stuff. You know, that's $100,000 impact right there just in sales tax.
Yeah.
It's been up, but this last month, that report, it came in pretty close to flatline.
Yeah.
From the year prior, so I wouldn't,
Yeah, I mean, I
I
originally
wouldn't
was,
bank on it too hard.
I was originally a 25%, 30% decrease is what I was thinking, you know, when we kind of started this whole thing. But it didn't prove out. Like, I think it's Walmart and Dillon's roughly in McPherson is up 300%. I mean, you know, you just look, I mean, you can go in there, I go into Walmart, I can't find anything on the shelves. You know, they're all gone. It really is, it is, like Sedan, where I grew up, the little grocery store was struggling. Well, he said it's been like a snowstorm now for five months. I mean, he's just like.
Yeah, all of the grocery stores.
I can't keep food on the shelf up here. They got 6 people
Yeah.
restocking all day long.
So that helps us little community. I mean, when the grocery store is selling like that. But anyway, back to the thought. I don't know kind of what you want me to do. If you want me to put some, I mean, we're kind of running down here to.
Here's your sales tax. I've got it up on the screen. So in 2018 and 19 both, we were like, so in 2018 we were 741, 884, 2019 740. But before that we were consistently, you know,
The 600,000.
yeah, in the six.
Yeah.
So.
Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Conceivably, we might make
300,000.
800.
Yeah, but
But I think,
Still-
I mean,
still
part of
nice
that
to
was
see.
the construction that you're talking about, part of that increase. But
Wow.
anyway, just thought you might wanna
But,
see that.
Yeah, that's good
history.
numbers. Yeah.
700 might be a good number, but you got,
Yeah.
650.
650. I mean, if
650 is a safe number.
650 is a pretty safe number.
Yeah.
if you look historically, like Tina said, you take the last 2 years out. you're-
I always kid people when I'm doing budgets, you know, you can put it 700, but it's so much easier to spend cash. You know, I mean, you know, if you move it to 700, what you're really doing is you're putting a budget there that, I don't know if I'll get that or not, but you know, if we put it at 650 and we do get 700, we've got 50,000 in cash we can spend. It's a lot easier to spend cash than it is budget. You know that at
Yes.
home too.
I wonder when we raised it up to 650, what year we did that? What was it? I didn't know.
I would guess, we went off, like she showed those there, I would guess those 4 years were pretty well flat. I'm guessing we were the 600,000-ish. I mean, I usually try to trail
Yeah.
about 50 grand. I mean, I don't like to get too close to it because it's just hard, it's hard to make that up when the revenue drops like that and you spend the money.
Plus, we don't know what the end of the year is going to be.
That's right.
yet. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
This first round was,
We still got a lot coming yet.
Yeah, we do.
a lot of things to happen this year.
Yeah.
Could happen, I hope they don't.
I didn't talk, I was gonna go back here and look, I don't know it off the top of my head, let me see here, capital improvement, I wanted to, what the number is roughly in that. Okay, so at the end of 19, we had, it's on page 19. At the end of 19, we have, 4,276,000, and I can't, we haven't transferred anything in, or have we? Have we made any transfers this year yet?
We've made one of them.
One transfer,
Yeah.
okay. So, so we're setting maybe at, what, not quite 5 million maybe, but have you spent any out of that? to
Not
date?
yet.
Yeah, so we're setting about 5 million.
Probably 1 million at least, Nighthawk project.
Brent was talking about taking that out of Blacktop. I'm not sure he was taking that out of capital improvement. I can't remember,
Okay.
but I don't know. We'll have to look.
Okay.
One thing about that though, if you take it out blacktop, I'm just off the top of my head here, if you look back at 9B, because of what you said about gravel roads, you have to remember this. If we are overspending the gravel roads potentially by $700,000 in 2020, then I want your blacktop road in
Right.
and road and bridge. So we have to kind of balance those funds. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't know,
No, and I think I'm wrong. I think it was a 190th he was doing out of Blacktop.
Yeah.
And then,
because that 700,000 probably was overspent about 700,000 last year. And then we have another 700,000 this year, so it's getting out of those other line items somewhere. So we're gonna have to, kind of balance that a little bit.
Well, I think all of us sort of feel, I feel that the rock expenses is gonna have to, the budget's gonna have to go up, especially if we go with
The hard rock.
the hard rock. I mean, that's just, it's not as,
Yes, but for what I'm seeing on those roads, that's just budget. That wasn't, what was that put on, a 2-inch?
3 miles.
How many tons per mile?
300, I think.
Yeah. Those roads are holding. They really look good. And so if you can use less hard rock
Not have to go back as often.
and not, you might not be as bad a shape as you think you are, but
Bryce says 500 tons per mile in the comments.
so, that's depending on the
I wanted to
year.
ask
You
you
just
something
never, you
else.
never know who's listening.
Well, no, you do. You just click on
Okay,
it.
Bryce, I didn't say anything. Hopefully it hurt your feelings there.
I mean, commission-wise, Scott, isn't it better to have the flexibility with the general fund than with these scheduled transfers?
Yeah.
I mean, that gives us a more hands-on approach
Yeah.
to what we can do.
No, I mean, even though the employee benefit fund is running tight, we may have to add a little bit to there just because keep the cash balance there. But even if, I've had it happen in county, the employee benefits, because of they had 2 or 3 really serious situations that hit, so the insurance, and we weren't accounted for it, so we actually had to pay the 2 months out of the employee benefit at one time out of the general fund. So that's why the general fund needs to be flexible, because if these other funds do get in, challenging situations, it can pay anything.
But I think we also have a resolution that the reason we're able to levy a couple of those mills in the general fund is to be for roads.
Yeah.
So
that's what it's.
that's the
Yeah.
authority that we had at the time to levy it at all, so, right?
That's right. Yeah, the resolution, one time it's binding but not binding, but you wanna honor it. I mean, we're not trying to go around the, now like the sales tax money, the 80-20, see what happened there is we just divided part of that to make it a transfer over into capital improvement for roads. And so that money has to be used for roads, doesn't it, technically? Sales
The
tax?
sales tax.
Yeah, the 80%. And then that was the other question I was gonna ask. It looks like that 20%, which if you're familiar with that 20% on the bottom of 7A, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's 7A? No, not 7A, I'm in the wrong place here. It's on 7D. Are all those lines, I just wanted to make sure, I was kind of, we say sales tax is roughly 20% is 130, it's down towards the bottom on 7D there. But like pictometry and radio, all those come out of that sales tax money, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know, that's what I know. I mean, I'll be glad to entertain any questions or, see, today's Thursday. I have to make sure what day I'm on.
We got
I think so.
I think so. I'm just thinking kind of mechanics here. If you tell me to do something, I actually could go back and work on it this afternoon. And then we could email something and you could look at it. And then I think the paper would take it on Monday morning, wouldn't
I don't know.
Yep, there you go. Turn around and ask.
Anyway, so you just tell me what to do. I mean, this is a very workable, I don't want to be negative here. I'm not trying to be negative. It's a very workable. I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
I've had a lot worse, so let me
I
tell
don't
you.
think it's the ugliest budget we've seen. I really don't.
It's not, but it's, I think it's,
It's working that way though.
yeah, it's headed that direction. I just don't like that. I'm kind of really much
Just depends if
perfectionist.
we
I
wanna
just don't like
kick
to.
the can down the road for another year or
Yeah.
two.
I mean,
Well, then you'll be
and some
gone.
people,
Possibly.
some people are gonna have to do that, you know, I mean, they're gonna have to kick the can down the road because of the situation we're in right now. You know, we're tax lid bound, we're not gonna, you know, it's just gonna, it is what it is, you know, and so, I mean, I haven't heard Diane speak up or, but you know, there is, you know, we talked about it last time, she wanted to know what roads is. Roads is a big number in your budget, you know?
Yeah.
Well, if it gets, I mean, people will still drive. I drive out to the farm in McPherson County and I'd kick in four-wheel drive. They're back, you know, when it's raining and all that, on a county road, you know? So, and they had to catch up, you know, they were dumping gravel on there and so.
County road or township road?
Well, the township road, yeah, well, getting to it, yeah, no, actually, well, getting to it, the county road, Overland, I think is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but you know, I'm just saying, it's not just you, the wet, how wet it's been, these roads have been nuts. I've never driven on roads out there to the farm on that muddy road. So I mean, it's kind of a unique situation, but roads are a big part of your budget, so.
Yeah, you know, our taxpayers want a product, but how can we get to that product and yet keep the budget the same?
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, there's always ways of working smarter too.
Yeah,
You know, I drive a lot of county roads in Marion County,
yeah.
and, you know, we're still rocking roads that don't have a ditch, that fields are right on the road.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's something that we're gonna have to work through. You know, I know everybody's got a problem when it rains, but are we just, you know, you know, I hate to say our county's band-aided for a long, long time.
We've had to Band-Aid a few roads that are on the road rebuild.
Yeah.
Just
And
until we can
like I
fix the road
said,
rebuild.
the cost of rebuilding a road is huge.
I don't know whether, I know Jonah drives, I know Kent drives, and Dave drives, because you said that, but if you've driven in just the last 2 weeks and looked at what the soft blacktops have already done here.
Oh, man.
I mean, they're taking a beating right now, and they're chewing up, and so Bryce is headed for a tough time on our blacktops, just the soft ones. I'm not saying the overlaid ones, but they're hurting too. But the soft blacktop ones, right now, in Diane's area up there is the Ramona Road.
Yeah.
And then her.
Coil Creek and 330th are
Yes. Yeah.
almost nearly impassable
I mean, it's
as blacktops.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you say to yourself, well, a total rebuild with blacktop, what's that gonna cost?
just what we're looking at down here.
Or do we have a safe road that we just
Yeah.
turned into gravel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you look back in years past, Kent, for a Bomag, and that was 700,000, or
Right.
750,000 for a machine, so we decided, we'll just rent one when we need one instead of replacing the 1965 model or 70 model that we have. And so, in order to tear them blacktops up, you either.
Costs money to that.
Yeah, to do that and get some rock back in, it takes money and time to do that
You
too.
know, that's why I'm talking about, you know, being smarter maybe.
Yes, yeah. I agree.
There's always ways of being smarter and accommodating people.
Mhm.
The Bowman decision, just comment on that, is the decision not to buy one is probably a better decision. Because, yeah, you could have bought it cheaper back then, but the efficiencies of the new ones now, the ability to traverse more miles and get more done is better done with the newer equipment, so.
And that's what we was looking at, trying to get that done here. Well, Dan was on,
Yeah.
and we looked at that, and everything would come back with 650 to 700,000. That was a used machine.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a pretty expensive machine to I mean, that's why it costs to have them come in and do things, but,
Yeah, everything, every
yeah.
dirt moving item
Yeah.
is expensive.
Okay.
I will say that I looked at a percent and a 1.5%. If the money's not there, it's not there.
At 1.5%, but it just moved. It was just a $55,000.
Yeah, wasn't used to.
Yeah, if you look at that second page there, 0% is 5,204,000, and 1.5% is 5,259,000. We're not talking about a lot when you put it across the board.
I think the personnel is
Pretty important.
Yeah, it's,
So 55, you're looking at
Yeah.
point 3.5 or 4 mils. There's a lot of other things we're dealing with here that are,
I don't think I would be in favor of taking that out.
yeah. Yeah, there's a point there where you have to keep people encouraged.
I'll go back to that then, I guess.
I mean, there's a little bit of adjusting there. I mean, the commission doesn't need 1.5, that's better.
Yes. Taking that, I'll go back to this, I don't wanna keep going back to it, but the extension council minus 164, moving the 140 over within the sheet, plus another 2,000 for personal services that you've got on here, so you got a $22,000 plus or minus. Cash forward moved over to, help absorb that 55,000 on that.
So to get this budget out the door, we will have to look at employee benefits, because we gotta figure out, what that's gonna be. That's one thing I'll have to look at for sure. Look at the health department, because of the way it showed there, I'm not sure, what happened there, we'll have to figure that out. And then the rest of the other funds, it's just a matter of either, removing we just gotta get to where the dollars for the taxes are locked and the total expenditures, and then, where I feel, and we all feel comfortable with that, because the other things can be moved around, but right now, the employee benefit fund, we have to decide whether we're gonna levy them. I mean, back to it, I guess we can adjust it and not put any extra levy in there and adjust those numbers where we're just really tight. Like the 25% for health insurance wouldn't have to be there, but what you have to understand, if you do that, then you're gonna have to pay may have to pay some out of the general fund, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what that does is it leaves a lot more flexibility if you've got it in the general fund and things do stay okay over the employee. There's different philosophy there. You just don't wanna cut yourself so close that the general fund's picking up every fund.
Right.
You know.
Cause a little bit more confusion too. Because,
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people saying, well, the road and bridge fund, they don't have their employees getting paid out of that, so how do we know if the road, well, you gotta look at the general fund.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy. You understood because you work in a city, but for the people that come on as a commissioner, that's one of those, I enjoy doing that, but just bringing people up to speed on how this, Kent, when he come on, he's a banker, he's looked at all these different things, but you just look at,
You gotta it's a re-education.
it
Almost
is.
every year.
Dave told me that after the first meeting, we were out in the hall, he goes, goodness gracious, government is, quite a bit different than a business. And so, that's just a lot of it is education of people and help them, understand how it works.
I've always approached it as a balance sheet from a business, and then you click on those
We raised
subcategories
that.
and really get into
But that was
that.
last year,
That
so
just deep.
We've got that
dive.
raised up, and we've raised that budget last year.
Yeah, you did a good job, with it, you understand it, people that said
That's
in like
interesting.
your city or county,
What did we say?
some of it's terminology, that's the thing I'm trying to get, my younger people, that's the clever Tiffany you know, any of those that come with me,
Yeah.
they don't get this taught in
Yeah,
college,
right.
okay? So a lot of it is just terminology. I mean, just understanding the
That's a good
different
question.
terms and how it
Honestly.
works, because they don't teach it, which is sad.
It's not much.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's actually, you gotta wanna know too.
Well, yeah, you gotta learn it, yeah. Well, as you guys are thinking, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. My phone buzzed at 2:26 the other morning. I went, who's buzzing? Well, actually, I'm a snacker, so I got up at like, at 2:15 to have my favorite snack, 2:15, but
You were awake.
yeah, I was awake. I got back in, my phone buzzed. I thought, okay. I looked up and go, Dennis, what are you doing? Dennis is one of the new commissioners I'm working with up in Nemaha County. He was texting me because he just thought of something at 2:26 in the morning on this Spark project.
You never expected to be up.
Yeah.
So I answered him back, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I don't go to bed anymore. No, he is hilarious. I mean, that's the one thing I've enjoyed about these 17 counties is because you just I've met so many people, and you know, you're just like, and that's that gives you encouragement. And so I didn't want to come in. I'm not saying this budget's negative. I don't want to be a negative person at all, because we have a lot of positive things going in Kansas, okay? We have a lot of positive things going in Marion County. I just don't want to see the trend go, and Tina kind of said it, or you said it, I don't want to see the trend go where we just like this. So, you know, you kind of have to say a little bit of, this is a challenging budget, because if we don't, next year, we're gonna be another 700,000
The
down.
easiest thing to
and-
say is out, let her fly.
Yeah.
You know, that's the easiest thing to
Yeah,
say.
so, you
That
know,
only works in roulette for so long.
yeah.
And rock budget right there that we talked about earlier, you know, we've spent over 1.2 already, we've spent it last year 1.2. You know, nothing needs to go up somehow, it needs to go to.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 900,000, and I mean, if that's really gonna be your rock
We
budget,
raised it
it's
to
1
900, but,
Yeah.
you know, but.
And then
needs to
I
there's-
mean, it was
There's
900,
other
it was
items that got
900 in
raised.
2020 and 2021's the way we
Yeah.
got it. But that's really not realistic.
Yeah.
If it's really gonna be 1.2 million or
Yeah.
something, then we need to adjust other.
What kind of winter we have?
Well, but the trucking that we've done, I mean, when you turn truckers loose, you're turning money loose. I don't-
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
200, what was it, 237? 200 and almost 263,000 contract hauling.
Really, for the gravel.
Yeah. But that's because it just had to get after it.
Yeah, sure.
They just had to get after it.
Right.
You have to have the big trucks, you know.
And if you drive some of our roads, it shows that we've dumped some rock on them. It does.
Oh, yeah.
And county can afford to buy their own truck next year, maybe not.
But, you know, the thought of having to re-rock a road 3 times a year,
Yeah.
it's
Unbelievable.
It's
Is
telling me that, you know, maybe we're better off spending more per ton and using less tons.
I don't know if it's using less tons, but it's less.
Well, I think it could end up being
Oh,
less
if you
tons.
rock it 3 times.
Yeah.
When you do it one.
Or twice. If you hit it hard the first time, then you may not come back the second, and you go back on the third. So yeah, you've cut it by a third.
And prioritize what you do rock with that. So your main traveled roads, you know, I mean.
If you live on the road, it's a main traveled road, even if
Yeah,
you're the only one.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a
right.
lot of those roads. There's one person in that mile, but it's pretty important to get out.
That person, yeah.
And you're gonna have more and more of that because the farms have gotten larger. And a lot of them, there won't be but one per mile at the most. Maybe not even that.
I'm hoping there's another trend that we're not paying enough attention to. People are urban sprawling again. They're trying to get out of the metropolitan areas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just, on the bank board, we talked about that last month. We had 4 new families move into Sedan. Or will be moving into Sedan in this next month. And so some of the things, I was on, for the Spark thing, I actually went live on with Zoom. I bet we had probably 70 to 80 people out in the audience at the auditorium there in Sedan. And I give them a little rah-rah talk about this, because get the city in order here, because these people are gonna start moving. out of the big cities. I think you're gonna see it in the ones that, the communities that have it together and are in this infrastructure place, are putting infrastructure in place for the young families. If you don't have Wi-Fi, you're shot, okay? I go to Detroit, I don't mean it's Donovan, I drive in down into Donovan in Detroit. It's gone. I have no connection. I told the county clerk that. I said, Peggy, you need that. I said, we can't do it with this, but no one's gonna, you know. So, and Sedan's the same way. You drive down from the rock quarry and my phone just goes dead. And so I don't know, that's the things that we need to read long-term. If you're talking about vision, those are the things we have to look at, because it is gonna happen. Because you know this is not gonna change. You know it's gonna get, these bigger cities are getting more challenging, and families do not wanna raise their kids in that setting. So
Plus, everybody's attuned to their Zoom meetings now and their conference calls
That's right.
and all of that.
That's right.
And
Yep.
Saved me about 15 hours, we talked about that.
yeah, it saves a lot of miles.
Exactly.
But Scott, this county is a perfect example. We've got 2, 3, that's, even the third one is dropping. But even everybody's dropping a little bit in business-wise. But how can the other 8 or 9 little towns that we have, you know, how can they gear up for this with no money? And everybody needs sewer, everybody needs water and lines replaced in their towns. And so it's quite a task for our small town commissions to try to do that.
Well, you just take one thing in a small city right now. Think about, when did all the water lines get put into most cities?
60s?
Most cities. Yeah. Yeah. So you look at that, like Galville, where I live. They can't do something across the street because they got to replace the water line before they do this. You know, there's going to be that stuff everywhere, and water lines aren't cheap. You know, and they're going to start busting, and
Typically,
so
they're found under the road, so
Yeah.
you want to do that in conjunction with your road.
yeah, you don't want to go fix the road if you're going to have to replace the water line. So there are going to be some challenges with that. But you know, I think we look at the positive side of this. There's some people that would want to move maybe to, I don't know, Lost Spring. I don't mean this bad, but you know, they pick a city like that and they go, oh, there's a neat house, and we're just gonna move there and we're gonna simplify life. Because I think that's what you're gonna see a lot of, is people are gonna say, I'm tired of this, you know? I wanna simplify life. So the ones that, I mean, one that's really cool, I don't know if you've ever been to Elk Falls. It's
Years ago.
Elk County. I just tell you this funny story. The weekend before Thanksgiving weekend, they have the outhouse competition. And it is amazing. I have not been there in person, but I've seen pictures. Because this whole lady comes up to me and says, and my grandson, look at my grandson. And she shows the picture, and the outhouse door is open, and he's, and it's all decorated. I mean, and people move to Elk Falls because it's,
Everybody's got an outhouse, huh?
yeah. But I mean, it's decorated. But I'm just saying, you have something unique with your community, and it attracts younger people. You know, that's a vision, I think, that we all are gonna have to address at some point. And so, to be positive here, you know, these expenditures you make, you wanna have good roads. I mean, I believe that. You gotta have good roads. Any county across the state has good roads. That helps with, you know, the industry, that helps with that. But, you know, some of this other is just making the community presentable, and some of them are bigger. The broadband thing, I've really been struggling with this with the spark money. Is trying to figure out, okay, if they're gonna use phase 2, and they're really gonna put money towards, you know, towards the broadband and some of that, what's that's gonna look like? Is it gonna be metro areas, or is it really gonna get out to some of these counties I'm working with that literally, some of the kids, they go home, they don't have a connection, you know, so.
Burns, Kansas needs.
Yeah. And so those are things that, it's gonna be interesting to see how this phase 2 money, $61 million is going to businesses with, I think it's a max of $15,000 that you can grant to small businesses. Well, you better get in line, because that 61 million is gonna go very quickly. You know, and if you're a business and you haven't gotten in line to get that grant for $15,000, and I think the details supposed to come out this week, or maybe tomorrow, I don't know if it's out yet, but they're setting all the grant, you know, specifications up. There's just a lot of things like that. We'll see what happens. But, I don't know, I'm rambling right now, but wound up, but you just tell me, you just tell me what you want to do, and I'll try to put the numbers together to do it. Tina and I'll talk about the employee benefit fund. We're gonna have to work on that in a little bit. And then I can get you an email, I guess, hopefully by tomorrow, if you tell me what you want me to do, and then she can get it out to you, and then hopefully the paper.
Well, Scott, I'm gonna tell you, I don't see nobody putting any X's with the red pen.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't see anybody wanting to do anything here with the red X.
Yeah.
We've had county administrators that put anything against people either way.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, even if you build that in your budget and you decide not to do the county administrator, that's $140,000.
Right.
It's gonna be, it's a general fund, so it's
Yeah.
not like you're locking yourself in. I mean, it's,
It's not gonna go away.
That's what I say.
We've used that.
If you don't use it, it'll
we've
just
used that
cash
before
forward
for
the
other
next year.
stuff, radios and all kind of stuff, radios.
That's right, radios that one year, yeah.
That's what we did.
That's
We did
right.
that with that, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have a little problem with the scheduled transfers myself, just because that limits flexibility, it limits the commission's involvement. If a department does need something,
So I guess,
Oh, you mean with the capital improvement?
right?
Okay, well, I mean, you can always transfer it back. You know, that's the
Yeah.
one thing I like about that is.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
It's already there.
There's flexibility there for that standpoint.
You know, I'm sure maybe the departments don't like it that way.
Yeah. Risk management has a little bit of money in it, I think. You know, that's another fund that it's a general fund transfer, but the risk management, if there's money needed back there, you can I mean, the risk management fund, it's, at the end of 19, 438,000, about 200,000 of that was that money we put in to capture the tax list on page 20. On page 20.
that was in the years prior when you said. You know,
Prior to that,
didn't-
that 248 was set up just for different types of liabilities and risks and all that. But it's general fund money, so that 250,000, if you need it, you actually just transfer that 250 back to the general fund to help with whatever. So, I mean, we built this budget. Tina does a great job of watching over this stuff. I mean, I'm just kind of the one that comes in and puts them together, but it takes Tina and your department heads and all that to, you know, to watch this budget, and you all then to observe what they're doing, and, so, I mean, you've got some flexibility here, you haven't lost the flexibility.
So are the only numbers you've changed in here the personnel?
Yes.
So any requests of departments where they ask for
No,
extra?
no, I think those are, I'd have to go back, let's see.
Okay.
We went in and put those in.
I guess one question is.
Yep.
Everything we've covered today.
Everything what?
Everything we've covered today.
Yep.
Either being affected by cash forward or something. The 1.84 keeps us in a good standing for the budget purpose.
It
Well-
keeps us afloat.
Right. But I mean,
Right.
Well, what it does, I mean, if you don't do the 232,
mhm,
okay, 232.
we just added to the
then
700.
you don't get it back.
Right.
Yeah, and so, so it's more than just a one-year thing, it's a time value of money is the way I look at it, is, you know, if you have it for the next 5 years and you don't have that 232 and it literally is added in there every year for the next 5 years, does it add? Yeah, it adds taxes, but it also keeps you, you know, steady. You start removing that off there, it's not just a 232 calculation, it's $1 million or, you know, I mean, it just, with
Right.
roads and all that, yeah.
I see the cost going up, and I see our income going
Yeah.
down, is what I see, if you don't do it.
I was just looking at one of these to see if you answer your question off the top of my head.
But I think also, Commission, that you have to just look at just the blacktop roads alone is gonna bite us here.
Right.
Because the first 2 terms that I was in, we consistently did
No, I
something.
didn't.
Every other year or every 3rd year, we did something, and we have not done that. I mean, we did 3/30th, we got that done, and that,
So that got
That was
here.
3 years ago.
Just got it.
And now we've got one coming up here on Nighthawk,
Just
will get
got it
done.
here.
Yeah.
But I can see Indigo and I can see Sunflower in the
Quail
south.
Creek?
And then what?
Quail Creek?
And Quail Creek up
North of
north, yeah.
290?
Mhm. Yeah, I can see.
330?
What about 156? Who's it?
Well, 330,
Is that the
we're not
county?
off of getting.
This county, the
It's
old,
just right there, shit.
the old trail.
We
I
went
mean,
ahead with bus
Yes,
share.
yeah.
It's
We
worth
think
going-
it's supposed to be part of the
worth going to
Nighthawk
get the
deal.
county then.
Yeah.
No,
No, or is it
Or
330?
don't have
Yeah,
potholes,
it's
it's
330.
just,
no, it's,
The other thing we got going on is the low
it's a
spot.
long way
290.
from Forest
Yeah.
Road.
But that's,
yeah, well,
that's
it's not smooth.
directly
No.
rise.
That's.
Okay, one last thing, Tina brought a good point here. On some of these, I don't know if it's all of them, but some of these budgets, I did not put in some of these requests they had. You know, we left it kind of the same, so that even makes it look a little worse there. I'll have to go back and see which ones, because I know there was some requests.
Chime in here, Diane, I know you're just anxious to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we didn't put in some of these requests. to-
No. Actually, I'm sorry, I really have no comment, I'm just listening, thank you.
Now, see, like, we did on some, like here, because the sheriff, we put in those vehicles.
I thought we did run through a little bit, because we talked about the EMS, having to bump that up to the building. We talked about all those things, and those got added the last go around that we've seen yet.
Yeah.
It was all,
Okay, I'll go back. I was thinking, I thought we added them all.
Well, some of the line items maybe were changed and some weren't, and maybe that's okay,
it
you know.
is probably the ones that stood out to us.
Yeah, because I'd ask about that. I know about the cars, I remember about the sheriff's vehicles and some of those items like that. Ambulance, we adjusted because you wanted it a certain way.
But you were also here while they were bringing them, so I'm sure you took notes.
Well, I've got them. I'll go back one more time. When I go back, I'll go back one more time. If it's real big, I'll.
But
I'll
let's
let you
speak
know.
about that process, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
they come in and they assume they get it just by coming in.
Mhm.
The red X never goes out when they're
Well,
here.
and not just the departments, I mean, we're talking about mental health,
Yes.
those kind
Yeah.
of things.
Yes, yes.
You know, we had a pretty good size increase for the one,
Yeah.
you know.
You got dual-edged sword there, though. You know, your mental health.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of that, then your sheriff's department
Then the
becomes your
sheriff's
mental health.
department has more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
You know, and that's a great point, because in the Spark programs, we've been talking about that, almost all of them in the direct aid plan. And I don't know if Marion, I can't remember if I talked to Rusty about this now, but that's something I just kind of going through these different counties, is some way, the local mental health working with the county, trying to figure out programs that you might put in place that could get built with the Spark monies, because what you're seeing right now, I mean, you all have seen it too, but even in our workplaces, our school, I mean, anxiety and overwhelmness and all these, I mean, things are at an all-time high. And so I just challenged Chautauqua County that last night, you know, you don't have a lot of resources, but if you could work with the, you know, I mean, there's money there available to help maybe and tie those together for your communities.
And I'll just mention one thing we haven't talked about. The building needs to be built over there. 80 by 80 or 90 and something to.
there's been some stuff addressed about some of that.
Storage.
We do need the storage for all the PPE supplies and stuff like that.
Well, and that's
So-
what I'm saying. We just heard 30,000 or so for Randy's. You know, that needs to be applied to something like over here, so it's right here with us and stuff like that. Some general direction there.
It's always been a long-term goal to get that building in there.
Yes,
but,
yes, it has.
You know, they're running over from the seams here,
The exact numbers, but it's more than.
except for the attic, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some of them, it's not.
We don't want it to
Nobody
come out.
likes all the stuff up there and then trying to find it.
Pretty dark and scary up there.
it's not as bad as it used to be. There has been a time, they've taken tons out of there to get it out there, but it's still a lot goes up there
Yeah.
in the alley.
I'll double check all those, and if there's anything that stands out on those departments that looks like it's something you would, I'll make sure, I'll make sure that you know, but I don't, like planning and zoning here, I just look at theirs, her budget is more than what she had here, so we're covered there. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know this off the top of my head, I wish I did, that there's changes, but
Well,
we're,
consultant fees in planning and zoning,
Oh.
yeah.
legal
What do you
fees.
say?
I just said we'll look at it. I just said we can take a look.
I don't know if that'll ever change.
That's mild, kid. Yeah.
Okay, what do you wanna do? What do you think? No red pen, someone said.
I haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go with what you got, huh?
I'm sitting here line by line and just evaluate. I mean, I'm thinking about some of the stuff we talked about the other day in the application on the bridge, you know, it's just, it makes it more valid. Yeah, you get some federal funding, but you're still gonna pitch out 80 grand. I don't even think we should be spending the time messing with it.
that's a commission decision. We need to really, if we want to sue, we all need to go up there and look at it, and make sure that that's what needs to happen, and go from there on it, because
I honestly felt the other day that the Keystone needs to be removed and a monument needs to be placed and a picture taken of it before something happens.
But then you got the historical people who come out of woodwork. and
they,
say
wait a minute,
this.
this is not, we don't have a local group here in the county
We
that's
met them
that's
halfway.
pushing for that.
We took the Keystone, we took
Yeah.
a picture, we
But
tried to
what-
record
agree
it.
with
What I'm saying though is we don't have a local group pushing to do this project.
That's a bridge to nowhere.
If I had a local group pushing to do something, I
Sorry.
would do that.
It's
Sorry.
It's in the
But
paper now. so-
it strikes home now because I've talked about the 80 grand the other day. It's just like,
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with what the conversation you're having here, because you don't have these conversations, it's just like at home, you don't have these conversations till money gets tighter and you go, oh, okay. You
Now
know,
what do we do?
yeah, what do we do here? Okay, we do need to cut this, or
Why
we
didn't
need
you tell me
to.
sooner, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's the other way. My wife doesn't look at me pretty cross-eyed already. She says, cut her down. Cut her down. So, I got my general direction.
yeah, you get those two.
I think Jonah brings up a good point, you know, you analyze each of these decisions you make, it's not, decisions aren't made, I mean, anywhere, they're not made on, you know, just one big decision. I mean, it's these little decisions you make, and you look at whether you're running your business, Western Associate, I mean, you go, okay, was that a good decision? Oh, yeah, that's a good decision. Oh, no, that probably wasn't. You know, but you make those decisions, and those little decisions make big decisions, you all know that.
That
And
makes this decision harder if you don't,
Yeah.
if you don't do that through the year.
Well, if we pass this year, no red pens, don't keep it down somewhere. I think Kent's expression right off the get-go was kick the can, go on down, over in the corner and sit there till next year, and then we'll kick it again. And here goes the trends.
I'm not really kicking the can at all. Just trying to.
Well, I mean, Kent said it. I mean, we're trying to put, what we're trying to do is trying to make it fit this,
Right.
everything, and it's just,
Trying to maintain all the services everybody wants.
yeah, and it just can't.
And the point that's been made so many times, we're not like a business like yours, we can't walk down to the bank and say, yeah, got a little cash flow
That's right.
problem, we
That's
can't
right.
do it.
That's, we don't have income. I mean, we don't have
Right.
income coming in except for our tax dollars.
well, you can't set up a line of credit, is what Ken's really saying, you know, I mean, there's just no, that's why you get, I mean, I said it so many times, but, you know, the cash, just making sure you have an unencumbered cash balances are huge, especially in this lockdown with the tax lid.
Well, it takes you back to what Randy said about vision. I mean, you start vision, you start figuring out how to get population growth, how you start getting efficiency, how you start. It's a form of income. It's an
investment
you got to get
for
that
future
growth.
income.
Yep.
have more houses built.
We gotta talk about some economic development, because we don't have an economic development. We gotta do that amongst us. We gotta have that vision.
You know, and then there's some things that are just out of our hands, you know? We saw interest income go up when we finally started bidding CDs again a few years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're flatlining again. We don't know if fuel's gonna go up $1 a gallon, you know?
I sat here when that happened, and that was not fun that year. That's why you, yeah.
Yeah, that year, August of 2008, I think it was, Stafford. August 2008, I filled up my old red Dodge pickup at $5.15 a gallon on diesel. And I was sitting here doing a budget in Marion County. I was going, holy smoke, the road prices are nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't control $5.15 a gallon diesel. I mean, that's like unbelievable. And filled up $115, I think is what my truck had to fill it up. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
That's that same year, I
I
sat,
had a
that
35
same
gallon
year,
tank on my Suburban.
I sat behind a guy
$100
that filled up
I
a
know,
pickup. And on the back of his pickup, he had a camper. Behind that, he filled up a boat. And then he filled up, I don't know how many cans, because he had a ATV in the back of his camper. He dropped almost $500.
I wouldn't believe, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'm going,
Yeah, and the reason I even say that, and Kent makes a good point here, that's why you don't know, like, if you're wanting to fix it, let's just take roads. And I remember when Jack Bruner sitting here goes, we need to do something about roads. So at that time, it was, for 2-inch overlay for 1 mile was $43,000, okay?
Yes.
$43,000 for a 2-inch overlay in 2001, I think it was, okay? So if you look at that, okay, 43,000, that's not too bad, but that's why we did all those roads. 2008, when 515 diesel, we looked at a road, and to start the first mile was 235,000. And then every mile after that was like 155 a mile for 2-inch overlay. There's no way you couldn't even do 4 miles. I mean, you know, so that's the whole thing here is we just have to position ourselves where we are trying to keep from going like this, and we stay in calm. I mean, and you know that with even running a business, the calmer you are in running the business, you know, you're just and making the good decisions, and you know, if the road needs fixed, it needs fixed. If it's a bridge that really doesn't need replaced, and maybe it's critical, I don't know, might be critical. Those are just things you have to make decisions on, and we'll move the money around. I mean, we can, if we leave it in the general fund, we can move that money around. We can do what, you know, you need to do to run the county. And then the vision, you still have to look at vision down the road, you know, to say, where are we headed with this?
We're gonna be in 5 years.
And some of that's out of your hands. Some of that is a state infrastructure or things that you don't have the resources to pull off.
But in times of uncertainty, which we did really live in now, liquidity is king.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it's liquidity.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd ever say this till the other day down at the bank, but we're under a formal agreement, and that's pretty serious with OCC. But the one thing it is, they capped our loans. We can't just go out and make loans, so we actually have almost $20 million in liquidity, because we have no place to put it.
Right.
But actually,
No place to invest it. to
but you
make
know
any
what's
money.
nice about that? We're gonna come out of this storm probably setting a lot better than most banks. So, you know, I mean, so you just look at that liquidity. You're exactly right. The liquidity is huge. I mean, you think about that in your personal
You know,
life.
you can't look at just at tomorrow, and that's very easy in the environment that we live in to say, okay, what can we do to make it better tomorrow? We've got to still have a long-term goals.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've rambled enough, told you enough stories, but what do you want me to do? Work on I'll go back through and double check. I don't think we're that far off on the budgets, but we'll look at them on the departments. I'll look at employee benefit fund, I'll look at the health fund. You're wanting to stay with the 1.84 mil increase, which is getting the tax lid money, and you're leaving in the 1.5% raise.
And we could transfer the administrator money to employee benefits to firm that up if we have to.
Yeah. Or you leave it there, and if you do run out of, run low, and you can pay it out of the general fund. Yep.
And then going on, touch
Okay,
on
so let's
some-
talk timing here. So if I do this afternoon, when's your campus? Is that today? Did you do that today too? Or?
No, it's the 14th.
We
We
can-
still got a lot of work to do before
Yeah,
then.
yeah, okay.
I've got an audit in the morning, an auction audit, hand count, and tomorrow morning, and then we're still counting advance ballots tomorrow afternoon and this afternoon, so.
Okay, let me ask this question, because this is gonna happen in Marion County. You've already put the date of the public hearing on Monday the 24th, is that right?
August 24th.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to move one in Marion County because they want to talk, two of the three commissioners got beat up. And it's gonna be an interesting budget. He sent me a text, oh my goodness.
Are they-
How much he's not, I don't know.
We're gonna beat out by some savvy budget people or just some?
No, there's some hostilities. I'm not gonna say more, but
Okay.
anyway, he's wanting to make the budget almost unworkable for the next year, and that I'm in a kind of I just stopped it.
Yeah, that's horrible.
What's
Yeah.
going on right now?
So,
Yeah, so
You gotta worry
the
about
thing
it.
is, I'm just asking that because the problem is, see, we have a consolidated budget, so all these entities have the same budget hearing date that you have.
all the cemeteries.
Cemeteries and all that. And the reason I'm
Special
just
districts.
bringing this up, because if you feel crunched, there's no reason to feel crunched. We have flexibility, we can make the hearing the 31st and we'd give you another week, but the problem with that is it changes all the
cemetery and fire districts and all those other special district budgets that we've already sent their paperwork out to them.
yeah.
We're looking at page 25 though. Did anybody have any problem with page 25 itself? I understand we got movement issues within funds
Right.
that we needed to talk about, discuss. But as far as page 25 is what we're locking into.
That's right. The tax levy and the total expenditures. What
So
the-
is page 25 isn't updated with all the numbers at this point,
No.
because he just hand wrote
Right.
on those pages, and so page 25 is not updated.
They've got to be incorporated.
But it's not gonna change the bottom line.
No, it should be. Unless you mean like a employee benefit, you mean, or?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
'cause
you're,
See,
it's
what I
all
did-
the
you
okay.
just did the cash difference.
All the
What
inside is
this-
gonna be cash forward
Yeah,
changes. It's gonna be-
front page, the reason I do this front page is literally like page 25. So if I know that your 1.84 mil increase is in there, and I've got all the funds, it should be the same as, and that's how I always make sure the budget. Now, Tina's right, behind these numbers here, those circled numbers I had.
Right.
Those circled numbers, I put them in my computer, I just didn't print it out, I made all the notes. But that won't change because what that'll do is it'll just change cash.
Right.
Or it'll change, if you told me a good example, if you wanted to take the county administrator out, that 140, that would be where I picked up part of that circled number,
Right.
214 on the general fund.
Right.
So this page here probably, unless we would move, only reason if this page would change here is if we say, okay, we're gonna put employee benefit fund levy, we're gonna put another 100,000 there.
We're gonna move it to
And we're
another
gonna leave
fund.
it from, take it out of general, okay,
Yeah.
then I would need to know that before we publish, you see what I'm saying? But I've gotta figure out the employee benefit fund, so that is a situation we need to figure out before we.
So the 22,000 that I was talking about earlier, we would have to make that decision here and now.
No, 22,000 is not gonna matter, because it's inside the general fund, and so all
So
you're
it's just
doing is just moving it between departments.
And that's what I thought, but I
Yeah.
thought.
Right.
Yeah. So the reason I did it this way is because I wanted to show you those circled numbers
Especially
of
if
what
you
is
say, okay, we're
actually
not,
changing.
stopped scheduled
If we leave the levy the
transfers,
same.
so that we as a
and the
commission can
expenditures,
analyze.
what is actually
request,
changing
Yeah.
in
rather
cash
than just,
or reduction
boom,
of
we just
expenditures,
transfer.
that's why I did those.
If there's no
numbers the way
discussion,
that.
we just administratively say,
I
well,
guess
we did our.
maybe it good to make sure the
Reduce
road
it.
and
You
bridge.
know, and I
numbers
don't know if
what we
everybody
did in
agrees
that
with me
fund.
on that.
Yeah.
Let's look at-
I just think that it gives the commission
Yeah,
more
that's gonna-
flexibility.
that
It
was
also
gonna
gives
be-
the commission a little bit more involved in the process.
mean, we got a
And I
circle
know that
number
the
on
department heads
that
feel
of
like that.
126, and if we
I'm
add
guessing not.
in, if we're actually really
Probably
gonna
not.
add in another
I'm trying to defend it myself.
700,000.
I just-
we'll call them for
I just
gravel.
think that getting down to 1.5 months
Right.
Yeah.
of general
Emergency,
fund
yeah.
expenditures
We got two different
is putting us,
conversations going on here.
then we're in a corner.
Right.
We don't wanna be in a corner. I don't think.
I'm looking at page 25, John, and I'm going down there, and, you know, one of our big discussions
Yeah.
has been, can we defend what we have extra cash? And it looks like it's 6.8 is what we're looking at there, but,
And that's if all the transfers were made.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, see, what that 6.8 is showing you there in the 2021 column is, if you go back, it's easier to see if you just flip back here to page 19, bottom 19. So what that's showing you, when you look at that 6.8, on 19 there, down the right-hand column, very bottom, 6,802,117, okay?
yep, gotcha.
So that's the total expenditures on the bottom right-hand corner of 19, and that will tie back here on the publication to 6,802,117, okay? That you were calling out on page 25.
Right.
Okay, but to get to 6,802, you have to remember, you look right above that 6,802 on page 19,
Right.
and that's a full transfer of 1,262,818.
Yeah.
And in the middle column, it's a full transfer of 1,262,818. Okay?
Yeah.
To get to that 6,000,008 that is
Right.
being published back there as the total expenditures in the capital improvement fund. In the capital improvement fund, you don't actually have to show a budget. You only spend actual. But what we've chose to do, and I've always done this with budgeting, is I make all the non-budgeted funds budgeted funds. And the reason I do that is I want to show the future of the cash flow. Because if we just posted, which is budget form and statute, if we, on 19, all we'd actually have to post is column 2019. It would just show what actually was spent in that year. But that's not really giving you a picture into the future, okay? And because it doesn't have to be budgeted, it can be spent however. But I've always made it a budgeted fund, and so when people look at page 25, they go, oh, 6.8 million you're spending on capital improvements? That's really money that's sitting there for, if all this stuff happened, you know, the transfers were made and all that happened, that would be the amount available in 2021 to be spent if you didn't spend anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I've always done that. I've done that on, like, another one is special machinery for road and bridge. You only have to show the actual year. You do not have to show the other 2 years. But I've always showed those because I think, I mean, and even with that, I missed that one balloon payment.
Yeah.
But you always got these lease purchases that are being paid out there. And so if you don't show the other 2 years, you can't track them.
Right.
You know, it's hard to see the future there. So the state, a lot of those like that, if you look at, I'll show you how they really should, that one could be shown, is on page 24. They're called non-budgeted funds. And there's some of these are very small, but that's where they're shown. But like on 24, the capital improvement and special machinery, all can be shown just like this. And all you're gonna show is just the actual year. You have no budget, you show no budget, you show no flow. And I mean, they may have other things on your general ledger or something that have that, but this gives to me, this is a lot more transparent budget because you're showing, even though it shows 6.8 million back here on the publication,
Yeah.
it's if they dig into the detail, they would see how that 6.8 million is really being, spent.
And that was the point the first year I was on the commission, we had an open meeting with Scott came and explained, because taxpayers were saying, why are you sitting on all this cash?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we
And
had,
you're not lowering our taxes.
and we only had 6 people.
Yeah, there were 6 or 7,
Five.
plus the paper, right?
Yeah, on the paper, yeah.
Yeah, I took an hour and a half to explain all
Yes.
that, and there's 6 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did what we said we were gonna do.
Yeah.
And Jonah's right, he was saying, here's the business, but when you actually start looking at the budget, you have to drill down. I mean, it's just, you have to drill down
Right.
because there's so many different levels of the budget to get to a number. I mean, you have to do that in a business too, but this government's just different. And that 6.8 million, if they pick that up in the publication, they go, holy smoke, 6.8 million in the capital improvement, what are they doing down there at the county? Well, then you have to go back and you drill down. Here's how it works.
Well,
Here's the mechanism.
What also helps is when you stop being cash basis on your balance sheet and become accrual basis, it really helps understand some of this, because it's got a lot of projected forward thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Got all this pleasure you tolerate for one day?
I guess I'm good with that
Okay.
going forward in the hearing. I don't know if we need to make a motion, make it official, just keep
Yes.
that as a directive.
I don't think it's their motion, but maybe it has to publish.
Yeah, I think we got the motion to go ahead and get the date for the hearing. So we have to publish in order to hit that date.
We didn't get it. Will you take it Monday morning?
I'm not the one who can answer that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Eric was online.
Yeah, Eric's online here.
Oh, is Eric online?
Eric,
Eric?
you can hear me? Questions on the table, if, get it to you by Monday morning, does this still suit, does this still make time?
No listening.
Well, you might have a computer that doesn't have a mic too. If I use my office desktop, I don't have a mic, but I can hear everything.
Yeah.
I don't have a mic, so you gotta call in. But we'll double check that, I guess.
No answer means yes.
Well, if you,
No.
I mean, if you
He may not be
are
able to
good with the page 25, I mean, I don't know that we,
Yeah, if you're good with page 25, here's what would have to happen on the employee benefit fund, 'cause that's the one I'm concerned about. Road and bridge a little bit, but we got some cash there, I'm not really concerned, but employee benefit, what we'd have to do is we'd have to take down the line items in the budget, leave the levy like it is, shown right there.
Right.
If we had challenges, got in that year, we might have to pick some of that up out of the general fund. But as we work through
Employee
this,
benefits in the general fund?
no.
no.
Oh, okay.
What I mean is if you ran out of money in that fund, because if we're down 280,000, and that's
Right.
really the right numbers, and we only got 125,000 in cash there, so we're gonna have to adjust some numbers, and we can get that, and leave the levy the same, knowing that the general fund might have to pick up November, December, I mean, if we got in a tight place. If you say, oh, well, let's get, before we make this final, what I was gonna do this afternoon is, I was gonna try to figure out the employee benefit fund a little tighter, closer, and say, well, maybe we should put $100,000 in the levy over there to get it where we need to be, and take the 100,000 out of the general fund levy, and make this more realistic on the employee benefit fund. That would be a change we would have to make before we publish.
Right, and
I
they
think-
can maybe tell you that now.
Yeah.
If-
I think that would be a more astute way to do things.
Yes.
I mean, it would be easier if you could tell Scott, that
Just
right
make it,
now.
okay, if you could just tell me to make the employee benefit fund work, and the rest comes out of the general fund, okay, I can do that. And what that would mean is we might have to increase the employee benefit fund, and we probably, Tina's right, that's been running on a very shoestring budget for at least 3 or 4 years probably, okay? So if you just tell me, okay, Tina and I work on it, and we say, okay, we're gonna have to add 200,000 over here on the employee benefit fund, the 200,000 would come out of the general fund, and then when we reprint this, your levy and your expenditures would be down in the general fund, and it'd be up on the employee benefit fund. And then that's what would be published.
Well, and if you think about it, there has been some expansion of staff over the
Yeah,
years.
right.
And that has affected that employee benefit fund, and we have never budgeted an increase there
Right.
to cover that in the levy. And you can't keep doing that.
Just this year alone, 2 employees,
Right.
plus,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute.
It's more
I
than
say
that.
Scott,
It's more than
make it
that,
work.
because you
Make
got
it work. And what I could do, I think I can get it to work by this afternoon. We could send them, we could email the publication.
Right, so the bottom line levy wouldn't change.
Wouldn't change,
But
right.
there would be a
Right.
difference
I see
between.
the problem with doing that.
There'll be some numbers
Due to
moving.
where it is.
Yeah,
So
and
number-
then you're being transparent, this is what the
Right.
Yeah.
benefit fund's gonna
Yes.
cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna move some money from the general into
Yeah.
employee
Employee
benefits.
benefit. The levy will go up in the employee benefit fund to make
Right.
it work. The levy will
Go down.
go down in the general fund because we know what the mill levy is and we know what the tax dollars are levied. We're locked in on that. That bottom, where those two check marks are down at the very bottom,
Yep.
those numbers are gonna stay the same.
So
It's
we-
just up above, I'm gonna change those two to make it work, so the employee benefit fund
Shuffle
works.
things around.
Yeah.
And you're
Okay.
only talking, you're talking about 200,000.
I'm throwing it now, I don't know what that number.
Yeah, we need to
I've
look
got
at.
285 in the circle.
You got
But,
289.
or 289 in the circle, but, you know, I'm not sure if we got some other line items to.
And you got 125 for cash flow.
Yeah, and then we all got 125 in cash.
But I think, Tina, you're on top of it there because expense, manpower, health, employees is going up. And we've got to adjust to it to let everybody know that that's what's happening. I mean,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Employee benefits are not cheap, I mean, business or government, it's not
No.
cheap, I mean, it's
It's a huge part.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that transparency, so.
Yep.
I-
Okay.
I would say make it fit.
Okay, well, I'll get on my ping pong table in the basement this afternoon and we'll see what kind of magic we can work with.
You want some help? Have fun with it.
Yeah, I actually, budgeting is actually my favorite part of my job. The Spark stuff's kind of been fun. I mean, I'm a people person. I've got 11 people working behind. Okay, I'll tell you one last story and I'll leave. Okay, so one of the guys that's helping me is totally accountant. And he's amazing, okay, but he came to us, he works out of his house in Manhattan. He was a partner in our firm and he wanted our lifestyle, our culture. So he comes over, but Chad, the managing partner, assigned him to me on this park project as my lead project manager. And he's a tax guy, okay? But he's very detailed, he's very good, okay? And he's not one of those that feels real good on Zoom. So think about the anxiety, okay? I mean, he's good at it, he's really good at it, but he's just not one of those that, like me, I get on there, I feel, you know,
He wants to be in a dark room by himself.
yeah, right, yeah, he just wants to be in a corner and work on a computer. Driving over here, I get it, I shouldn't be telling you this. I get an email that says, I'm supposed to be on Zoom with Stanton County at 9 o'clock. I go, I can't do that. So I call John. John, you're gonna have to go on Zoom by yourself today with Stanton County, and you're gonna discuss the direct aid plan. And that's kind of part of his specialty. Really? And, you know, it's just hilarious, the different personalities.
Yeah,
And,
because
and
you don't know if you're speaking to
I
one
know,
person
I
or
know.
100,000.
Yeah, there's 32 that got that email, but the reason Chet put him over there with me is, Chet does that, he'll send him out with me in my truck, these people that maybe are a little more like behind the scenes. It's just hilarious, because they do not feel comfortable with, yeah, so, I'm sure his anxiety was.
We lost Diane at some point.
Yes, she.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go, because it's already 11:15, and Tina's got work to do. Unless you have some other questions for me, I'm gonna go and work on figuring out the employee benefit fund, a little tight, or figuring out to get the actual levy where it should be. And we'll reduce the general fund, and then we'll get a new publication page to you. Hopefully by tomorrow morning. Well, is that okay? Should I send you
Sometime tomorrow, but.
should I send you the whole, kinda like this, should I send you you want the whole budget?
Yeah.
Whole budget.
Send me
So
the
you
whole
can
budget, because I'm gonna,
dig through it, yeah, that's awesome.
Do we need to do a call in? Make a motion and push it forward to the public?
Give Tina the authority to approve it.
well, I think, I mean, all I'm gonna do is go through and make sure that there's nothing that looks like, oh shoot, we didn't
Yeah, we
put
didn't
something
put
in that,
yeah.
like in the middle column, we've already spent this,
Yeah.
and so that might affect our year next year.
Yeah.
I always go through it, all of that, to make sure that we're not
Because Road and
underestimating.
Bridge, even though we may not adjust Road and Bridge is another one I'm gonna look at this afternoon because of that
Yeah.
gravel thing you just told me. Because we're only showing 900,000 in the middle column and we've already spent 1.2 million. So we've got to adjust some other things there to make that work and see where it comes out. Yeah.
I think, if Scott and I can work on this together, and then if there's anything that looks alarming or it looks like it's gonna need more discussion, then maybe we need to.
Yeah.
I would entertain the weekend meeting. I mean, I don't know if anybody else.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, just,
Go Zoom.
if there's something,
If
something
there's
really,
something,
yeah.
we could do a special meeting, yeah.
Just a Zoom meeting, or a go meeting,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
just a.
So you had to put up with me in person instead of on the go-to meeting this time.
Yeah, enjoyable.
Yeah, but it's still better. Still better.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I got this mask on, guys, I'm leaving the courthouse. Okay. Anything else?
What?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Boy, this morning I was sweating and trying to get this thing done, in an hour and a half or hour and 15 minutes on my wife's printer, couldn't get it to work. And, but you know, Tina, I'm bragging Tina a little bit different. I want Tina to go through it because I know the big picture and I work best in trying to figure out the puzzle, but I don't. Tina's the one that knows the detail, and that's why she always goes through the budget. She looks at it and makes sure that that middle column is where it should be, because if you don't have the middle column right and you've spent 1.2 million instead of 900,000, that's not good. And so that's why I really appreciate when Tina goes through and looks it all over. It makes me feel a lot better because I don't have the day-to-day working knowledge of yeah, it is what it is, but I really appreciate Tina doing that.
Really
Like
did
you
it.
don't even have time to.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's, I don't know whoever sets the timelines for all the things that we have to do, but they all happen at once in our office.
Oh, it's nuts.
We're blessed to have the most astute county clerk in the state of Kansas.
Oh.
Yeah, we heard that a few times.
She does do a good job.
Made that statement.
And I will tell you, the tensions are running pretty high in the county clerk's offices across the 1700.
Yeah.
One lady last night emailed me about 9:30 and goes, you know what? Tell that co-op that they don't have I've asked them twice for the receipts on the Spark reimbursements. They're not getting their money, so I'm good with it. Tell the commissioners we're going on down the road. It's okay. Because the tensions are running high.
I'm actually really thankful. I'm not actually involved in that because there is no way I would have been able to.
I don't know how some of these counties are doing that, where the clerk is doing everything. I mean, the undertaking we have taken on, I've kind of questioned myself now whether I should have taken that many counties on, but it's good learning experience for all the people. There's about 11 people. They're doing things they've never done before, and it's cool. That's good. It makes you.
Lots of people doing that now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it makes you. It makes you appreciate, oh, that's where this money's going. I mean, it kind of opens your eyes, the CARES money and all that money. Now they're talking what HEAL, I think it's called HEAL now, the next one,
Yeah.
1 to 3 trillion.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
gracious.
sit there
Where's
and try
this?
to balance, not to put too much money to a certain piece that's gonna get it in the heels, so that way you can make it spread further with those other entities
Wow.
and be in a prediction.
I got a question on the
Mhm.
sports.
Yeah.
A lot of schools get a lot of money from the other
Yeah,
ones. Okay.
yeah. Okay, I got a call, this was a Gray County commissioner. Just to tell you, kind of give you a little background, that schools are really good. Am I supposed to be talking to the mic? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're okay. I just didn't know.
I'm thinking we're just gonna go ahead and adjourn.
Adjourn, yeah,
And
that's
then-
fine, yeah.
Not because our topics are discussed,
Yeah,
we can still hear from you.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's great.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn for the budget.
Second.
Second by Ken.
Okay.
All those in favor?
This morning,
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Yeah, I'll just send it right here, Scott.
Diane is off, so it's 4-0.
Well,
Okay.
mine down there asked for two.
Okay.